Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the BankPlus Studio.
Check it out.
Good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're super excited to welcome in a special guest. Walker Wilson from Raymond, Mississippi, now lives in Nashville, Tennessee. And as we told you earlier, was on The Voice last week. Blake Shelton picked him. And I think he can share a little bit of that, but not everything. And he is on the up and up in the country music world, which is exciting. We're always rooting for our artists. And Walker Wilson played at Raggio Mercantile Shop on Saturday, and he's been doing some really, really cool things in the world of music and writing songs. Walker Wilson, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. How are you doing?
Well, thanks for getting up early and hanging out with us. This isn't really musician hours.
No, we're normally up around 11, something like that.
So when I was selling Walker on coming in, he was like, "What time?" I said, 9:30 or 10:30, and his eyes just popped up. And I thought he was going to pick the 10:30 spot, which would have been after the show. It would have still worked, but I'm glad he's on live with us. And by the way, you can watch this right now because he's going to hit a lick and then sing a song a little bit later. But you can watch on YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. And we also want to thank Josh Raggio for the introduction. So you're from Raymond, Mississippi.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. When did you start playing music?
I started playing music later than I started singing. I started singing when I was born, according to my parents. But I grew up singing like in the choir at the Raymond United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And singing in school choirs and different places like that. I sang at Raymond Elementary. Just my whole life was something I liked to do, was sing, and just always enjoyed music. My parents always played it, and I enjoyed singing in the shower just like everybody else. And as I got older, people would tell me like, "Hey man, you can actually sing." And for me, it was something I never had that thing that people have where they're like, "Man, I can't sing." I just didn't care. I was just going to do it.
When did you realize you could do it for a living?
Man, I didn't realize that I could really, really do it for a living until I moved to Nashville. I kind of moved to Nashville on a whim. And that's when it kind of hit me that you don't necessarily have to be the best singer in the world. You just have to have the guts to do it and have to be able to stand in front of people and make a fool of yourself sometimes.
I've done that on radio for many years. Okay, so how old were you and when did you move to Nashville?
I moved to Nashville. It was 2013. It was October of 2013. I think it was October 1st. I was 15 years old. Or I'm sorry, not Nashville. I thought you said Knoxville. I
meant Nashville.
No, my bad. I moved to Nashville when I was 23. It was June of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been there almost 2 years.
Okay. And where were you before then?
I was in Knoxville. I moved there when I was 15.
Really?
Yeah.
For music?
No, I moved there. My dad got a job up
Got
there.
it.
I was a sophomore.
Okay.
It's like a little town outside of Knoxville. It's called Alcoa.
Alcoa. Okay. So you moved to Nashville almost 2 years ago. And is that right? 2021?
Yeah. This June will be 2 years.
This June, 2 years.
Yeah.
Was that intimidating?
Oh, dude, yeah. It was nuts. It was one of those things like, if you ever make a decision and you're mad when you make a decision, sometimes you regret it. And I don't regret that one at all because I was not very happy when I moved to Nashville.
Really?
And not happy, not because I was moving. I was just, the situation I was in, my job I was at, stuff went down that caused me to be like, hey, if I'm going to do something big in my life, I got to do it right now. Talked to my dad, and he was like, don't wait till you're 30. Do it when you're 23. And so I called Josh and a few other people, and I was like, hey, man, I think I want to move to Nashville. And Raggio, shout out to him. He was like, without hesitation, he was like, do it.
Absolutely.
Like he didn't falter at all. He's like, I think I got faith in you. He didn't say I got faith in you. He said, I think I got faith in you.
Walker Wilson joining us on the Out of Bounds show. You can watch it right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Okay, so you grow up singing in the church and in school and everywhere else and in the shower and all that, and then one thing leads to another, and you go to Nashville. How did the voice thing happen?
Dude, it's kind of a funny story. I told it the other day to a guy. My buddy Connor Sweeney from South Carolina, I met him in Nashville. He's one of my friends. He had gotten a hold of me in February of last year, I think. And he said, hey, man, The Voice reached out to me. I'm going to go. Gave him a big hug. And I was like, yeah, dude, you really need to do that. So he went through the process, and he called me, and he was like, hey, if you get an email from The Voice, they're probably reaching out to you about pictures because, like, there's pictures with you in them or whatever. You have to sign, like, a disclosure. So I was like, all right. Well, coincidentally, shortly after that, I get an email. It says The Voice. So I ignore it. It is what it is. I'm like, okay, that's the picture thing. So I'm going. I've got some time. I'm about to head to Mississippi. It's in July at this point of last year. And I open my email, and it's not a picture thing. It's a, hey, this is The Voice. We want you to audition, but there's no graphic. It's no, like, there's a separate company that sent it to me, the whole nine. And so I called Connor, and I was like, dude, this isn't a picture thing. Like, what is this? And he's like, send me a screenshot. So I sent it to him, and he's like, dude, that's an audition. Like, that's legit. That's what they sent me. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I grabbed my guitar, and I knew Raggio was building the Mercantile at the time. I called him. I was like, hey, I have to shoot some videos. We'll talk about it when we get there. Fast forward, we do that. And he gives me a big hug, and I'm like, we can't celebrate yet. Like, we still got to make it through. I end up in L.A. I end up in L.A. in September.
Okay.
And so, like, this long process after those videos comes out, and they're like, all right, we're going to fly you to L.A. And I sat out there for a month. Like I told you the other day, I sat out there for a month waiting to sing for 90 seconds.
That's incredible. So when you're out there, are you trying to find other gigs, trying to meet other people and collaborate? How does that work?
No gigs. You're not allowed to do anything like that. You're in a hotel. They give you a little bit of money for food. But the main thing I did was I just went around. There's 80 people in this one hotel in Burbank, California. And I went around and just made friends with everybody I could.
Okay.
I got that morning grog. Big
yeah,
time.
it's early for you.
Yeah.
We sped you up a little bit. You're about an hour and a half earlier than you usually are. You're doing great. I'm happy for you, Walker Wilson. All right, so go ahead. Tell us whatever you can tell us as that unfolded.
Trying to think of what I can tell you.
Well, yeah, and think it through here. I don't want to get you in trouble by any stretch. Blake?
I can ask a question about this process that you don't have to reveal anything. So you've done two things that I think 90% of people don't do in life. You've taken two big risks and put yourself out there in ways that I think a lot of us don't ever do. So many people just grow up and they go to school and they go to work and they live in their little area and they never go outside that. But you did two things. You went to Nashville on your own, scary, bright lights. And we hear horror stories. It's like LA. 99,000 people go and one person makes it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's a waiter or a Starbucks barista or whatever it is.
I've been a bouncer to the Voice.
Yes, see, there you go. I mean, you went to Nashville and you stepped out on the ledge and you jumped, but then you did it again when you could have stayed in Nashville and you were probably working on stuff. You took another jump to The Voice. What inside you made you confident enough to do those things, and what were some of the fears you faced and had to overcome in taking those leaps?
I didn't really give it a second thought because my parents always taught me, if you're going to do something, do it full-fledged. Like, if you're going to jump in the water, jump in head first. And so when the opportunity came up, I was like, I kind of had a conversation with myself. I called Raggio, called my parents, and I talked to them and my sister and everybody. We had like several phone calls, and I was like, hey, like, this is big. This is way bigger than anything I've ever done. I can either take the easy road and not do it and continue trying to make it in Nashville, or I can take a chance. And taking a chance is something I've always done. I've always been the guy that's like going to jump in the water, or do the zip line, or hit the jump on the BMX bike, or whatever it is.
Right.
And so it didn't really freak me out. I was just like, you know what? This is what's meant to be. And if it's going to work out the way it's going to work out, then I'm just going to do it. Like, heck with it. If I go home, I go home. And so that's why I did it.
I think it's trending in the right direction. We're visiting with Walker Wilson. Let's go ahead and do a little music here, and then we may visit again for a few minutes, and then we'll go out with a song. You ready?
All right, yeah, man.
All right. So Walker Wilson joining us on the Out of Bounds show, and You can watch right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. What are you about to play for us?
So I wrote this song. If y'all watched The Voice last Monday, I made it on Blake's team, which means I had to go back to L.A. after that. And the second time I went, I was sitting in my hotel room, and I kept getting a bunch of texts. Everybody's like, man, you're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I had gotten fired from my job, so I wasn't having an income at the time. And I was like, man, everybody wants to say you're lucky till they, like, sit in your shoes and they have to face the issues you got. So I wrote this song called Lucky Guy. I'll play you a verse and a chorus of it. That's
Love it.
cool. 1,000 miles from nowhere that I know. At least that's what the cowboys say. Who the hell can call this place a home? And Lord knows I ain't here to stay. These hills surround me, but they ain't green like in Tennessee. And there's people all around me. Ain't a damn one talking like me. I bet you think I'm a lucky guy, and it's looking like that I sure got it made. Yeah, big time, big shot, but barely got enough to keep my bills paid. But you ain't stood bedside watching me fight these demons every night, when a dollar and a dream is the only damn thing that's keeping me alive. Hell yeah, I'm a lucky guy. You got a little snippet of that one for you, Bo.
Nice. Walker Wilson joining us live in the BankPlus Studio. You can watch on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. You had to be happy with that one.
I was, man. I wrote most of it in my hotel room. And I got back to Nashville, and I had two friends of mine help me complete the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was super cool.
So you're in Burbank, California, in the LA area.
Yeah.
You write that.
Yeah.
And where did you lose your job from?
We're not going to talk about that
Okay.
place.
All right. We'll move
We're not
on.
going to give them the shout out. But it was a bar in Nashville.
He was a bouncer.
Yeah, he looks nothing. I'm not. This is not a shot, but like you look much more like a musician than
Okay,
you do a
I am.
bouncer.
But that's what they told Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, but he was still a
he was
a badass.
gorgeous. Yeah, Patrick Swayze
He's
was
taller than me,
gorgeous
though.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm only like 5'9".
he's not
depending
quite.
on what boots I'm wearing.
He's not quite built like Patrick Swayze. Can I ask you a question? So, I think singing and performing is one thing, but being able to write songs is
No
a
doubt.
whole nother thing too,
Yeah.
because not everybody can stand in front of a microphone and in front of thousands of people, but also not everybody can lyrically write songs.
Yeah.
Do you find one comes easier than the other? Was it a
Oh.
struggle to learn how to write?
Oh, yeah. It's no different than, like, when you're doing anything, like playing sports or making duck calls or whatever it may be. It's trying to put words with it. It's just like a feeling, really. Like, there's days I wake up and I grab my guitar, and if I'm with other people and by myself, where I say, like, I'm going to write this song today, and then I struggle through it. I got 5 hours, and I get to the end of it, and I'm like, this is terrible. I don't know why I wasted my time. And then there's other days where in an hour, I've written a song that I'm like, man, like, I go back and listen to it, and, like, when you write a song that you enjoy listening to, like, a lot of people are like, do you listen to yourself? I'm like, yeah, because I enjoy music. And so
Right.
that's part of it. People always tell you, write the songs you enjoy and somebody's going to like them. And if I find myself listening to my own song that I wrote over and over, just like as if you were to hear somebody else drop a song and listen to it over and over, then that's the day that I know I did my job. That's the day I know that it all worked out the way it was supposed to.
And some just, man, you get one and you can write it like that. And I'm sure some you have to wrestle with, right?
Oh, yeah.
For
It's like I said, like 5 hours.
Weeks and months at a time trying
Oh, yeah.
to complete it and land it where you want it to be.
Yeah.
And then some you can rip off on an afternoon with a cold Coors Light or whatever. And it just
It's
kind
a
of
Miller. It's a Miller.
Miller. Good man. Good man. That's what we're going to do. Walker Wilson on tour, brought to you by Miller Lite. We're visiting with our friend from Raymond, Mississippi. He's now in Nashville, Tennessee. He went out to L.A. Burbank last fall and did the whole voice thing. Blake Shelton picked him last Monday. We'll see what else. We'll see what else plays out for you. And he's going to play some more music here a little bit late. Well, just in a few minutes on the show. So who is, give me a couple of musicians who you grew up loving their music?
I started out with my dad listening to 106.7. Anybody in Mississippi knows that station.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Blake. And so that was it. You may as well have just glued the button down, like to where that was what was going to be on. And so that was all your classic rock stuff. And then as I got older, I know Three Doors Down is from Mississippi, and a lot of their genre kind of falls in that same vein. And I listened to those guys a lot. And after that, I kind of dove into what was like CMT country of like Jason Aldean and Blake Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I've been listening to Blake Shelton my whole life. And so all that combined, those were like my early influences. And then as I got older, I got into more of like a Southern rock, modern Southern rock type deal. So like Whiskey Myers, the Steelwoods, they're kind of an underground band. Even like Bailey Zimmerman coming up, he's got a crazy, crazy, crazy sound. So I kind of lean more towards like a storyteller kind of song. It just and nowadays I don't even have like favorites. They change day to day.
Sure. Visiting with Walker Wilson on the show, and was just on The Voice and in Nashville. How cool is it to be able to tell, a girl that you're either hanging out with or trying to hang out with? Well, hold on. How cool is it that you're able to say, "Hey,
hey, baby"?
Exactly. I've been on The Voice, and Blake Shelton. What?
Real quick, just looking at him, I don't think he's ever had any trouble talking to a girl. And
Right?
being
No,
like,
I don't
"Hey."
think so either.
Actually,
I don't think
grew
so.
up
But
a fat kid.
But
so
this
I
is
did.
another level. But the ability to be at a Nashville bar or home or maybe even out in LA and say, "Yeah, I've been on The Voice and Blake Shelton picked me." You're right. I mean, he's a face man. He's not going to have a problem with the ladies. But we're talking about another level here. So how has that been?
In Nashville, it's not impressive at all because everybody's done something in Nashville. Like you could be standing there talking, and then John Party walk in the bar, and they're done talking to you right then and there. So it's Nashville's different around here. Like yesterday, Raggio came outside, and he or was it Saturday? Came outside and he named an iconic line to me. He goes, "You've signed more autographs today than I've ever signed in my entire life." It was insane, but it sold him a lot of merch. It made me feel good. There was kids. I remember being a little kid and thinking anybody that was even like on a show like this, because I'm sure y'all have had local people come in that are just trying to make it just like me, because I'm not famous by any means. I'm just on The Voice. That's it. And so there's kids coming up that are like, "Man, this guy's famous." Like they don't know the difference between me and Morgan Wallen. And so they're having me,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
they're
there's
6-7 years old.
Yeah, my truck's in the shop. They don't know that. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got a clue. And so I was signing like I don't know how many Raggio hats I signed. Sorry, buddy, I'm just like defacing all your hats, but I did, man. I signed a ton of Raggio hats. I sold a ton of Raggio hats by doing that. Koozies, shirts, and I was just like, wow, like these kids they really think I'm somebody, and they have no clue. I had to borrow a car to get down here. Like,
That's fantastic.
That is a great story. Hey, Blake, we can't forget that
I already thought about
Walker
it. Yeah.
Wilson has to sign our.
Have you
Report.
toured yet, Walker? Have you done like a state, like multiple states tour or anything like that yet?
Not officially. I've played in a bunch of places,
Yeah.
but I've never gone on like a set tour.
I see you, and we're talking about like the girls' entourage and signing and everything, and something screams like a mix of John Daly touring bus type thing for you.
Dude, I've met John Daly.
Yeah, he's
Of course.
Yes,
Who
I've
hasn't?
met John Daly.
He's the only person I know who can smoke an entire 100 cigarette in one pull.
Dude,
it's the
he
greatest
handed
thing I've
me-
ever seen.
He handed me a cup at the bar I used to work at. He handed me a cup, and I was off work. And this dude, I met him while I was at work, and I show up, and Daly's like looking at me, and I was like, "What's up, dude?" He's like, "You work here, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, you met me the other day. My hair was just pulled back." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're Walker." And I was like, "Right." So he hands me a cup, and I'm like, "Okay, it's like Crown of Sprite or something like that, dude." Straight Tito's, straight Tito's.
Yes.
Alive. So yes.
All right, we're gonna let you roll again with the song. Walker Wilson joining us on the show, and we're so happy that he's here from Raymond, Mississippi. Now lives in Nashville, Tennessee. You can watch on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports, and here we go.
You want me to do Dear Raymond? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that one full length. So being from Raymond, this is actually the first song that I wrote I wrote most of it by myself, and then Raggio helped me kind of polish it off.
Okay.
But this is called Dear Raymond. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. You can check it out. Well, I've seen Nashville, and I've seen Broadway. I've seen a small town bar with a neon light lit up in my name. I've seen a crowd of people staring and singing back at me. They're saying, boy, you're gonna be somebody. One day you're gonna be the one that made it out of this little town. Well, it's got a water tower in the middle. Main Street's cracked on both sides. Everybody knows your name, boy. Hell, they know what you drive. You better be at church on Sunday. Only got four. And if you need a bite to eat some, we'll send you home with some more. You'll see the world. Marry that girl, but bring her home. Dear Raymond, and I've seen the Colorado Rockies pointed toward the sky, and I know that it's legal there, but that just ain't my high. And I've seen a sunrise on a mountain on top of old Max Patch, and it's pretty as I've ever seen. But I still wanna go back to that Mississippi map dot that I call home. Well, it's got a water tower in the middle. Main Street's cracked on both sides. Everybody knows your name, boy. Hell, they know what you drive. You better be at church on Sunday. We've only got four. And if you need a bite to eat some, we'll send you home with some more. You'll see the world. Marry that girl, but bring her home. And dear Raymond, dear Raymond, dear Raymond. Yes, sir.
That was badass.
Actually, I left out the line that Josh wrote, so I feel bad about it. But it's,
Wait, you're coming back in later when you make it big.
That's
you
all
can't
right.
forget about us.
Oh, no.
Hey, we want Walker Wilson to have one of his biggest days. You can find that on Spotify or Apple Music. Dear Raymond, Walker Wilson, thanks for coming in, my friend.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know
That
what?
was fabulous.
You can have that.
Thank you. Walker Wilson in the house. Check him out on Spotify and Apple Music. Raymond, Mississippi's own. We'll see you tomorrow.